This video is about, I've been telling you that I'd like to do about the ages. I think you'll find most of what I call critical life ages in the series. And this one is about what a lot of people, if they know anything about astrology or have had someone say to them, oh, you're in your second Saturn return. Well, I've talked a bit about Saturn, and the next video is going to talk about clarity. I really try not to speak a lot of astrobabble. It's not about learning astrology. It's about knowing that it's a tool and that it's all about energy, and that it can be of service and healing to us. Doesn't mean we have to interpret it. Not everybody's going to understand astrology like I do and many other astrologers. And I think that's intentional. Everybody knows their piece of the puzzle. And this is mine, part of mine. Okay, so I talked about the times around 40 to 42, and I talked about 49 to 52, and now about 6-7 years later, there's that 7 again, along comes what is called the second Saturn return. Saturn is a planet that brings its representative time. I might have mentioned this before. It doesn't deny, it just holds us in place till we do something to our benefit, something that serves us and probably others. So we get to this place that's about 58, can start around 57. None of these are exact. Every chart and timing is unique. Anyway, what happens is something is brought back to the surface for us to work on. We don't always choose that. Whether we choose it or not, it shows up. And this is probably very much related to something that passed through your life around 28 to 30, because it's during the first Saturn return. And this astrologer will tell you that is the first maturation process in our lives, 28 to 30. And that bird just agreed again. So now we've moved on to a later time in our life. I still think of it as midlife. And things get tough. Things show up, hold us in place. A lot of times there's loss. I lost my father during my Saturn return. It was critical and life-changing for me, actually, when I finally realized all the connections. That is his MO to visit, is a bird. Yeah, I got it. Anyway, back to, a lot of people do lose the father parent, or the parent that represented a strong presence in their lives. I look back in my family, and when my mother transitioned 5 years before that, that was when my sisters were going through different phases of their second Saturn return. And that makes a lot of sense in our family. And Saturn, as I said, is not meant to deny, it just delays it. So the best guidance or suggestion I can make is to be paying attention. Even if it's the first time you're saying something else is at play here and I need to pay attention, because otherwise it manifests in things and places we don't really want, like illness or unnecessary loss. Loss is a whole nother topic, and I will get to it probably on another playlist, because it's hard to think of loss as a gift. But people who have been through major losses and have worked their path, they can look back and say, wow, that was something that happened in my life that I was devastated about, but now look what my life is like, or what I'm doing. And I like to sit here in front of this path, this walking path, because life is a path. And so when we get to the second Saturn return, 58 to 60, this challenge comes back up and says, look at this at another level. Now, from my perspective, healing in life is a spiral, not, okay, I worked on that when I was 29, I solved it, been there, done that, I'm done. Well, we'd all like to be able to say that, especially for the very painful and hard things in our lives. But it comes back to visit us. And what I look at it is, from a spiritual perspective, is that it's like, did we learn? We learned a part of it. And now it's showing up again to see if we can even enrich that or enlighten that even more. And so Saturn in the sky comes along and touches up on your Saturn in your chart. And depending on where that is and in what zodiac sign that it is, and other aspects that relate to it, there are circumstances and issues that come up that we can either deal with or not. And this has always been about, here it is. I'm going to face this. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to find out what's really there, or not. The not is free will. I'm not. I'm just going to go on. Well, I can almost assure you that it gets much more complicated if we don't stop. And that's kind of what Saturn's saying. Just stop here. Look at what's happening. See how it relates to things that you made decisions about back 29 years ago. And then let it heal. It's all about healing. I've said that multiple times. And astrology is a tool that helps us learn where that might show up, because sometimes we're not always aware. Oh, and here comes an airplane flying overhead, opening up the big picture. And that is, not everybody's a big picture person. And not everybody has to be a big picture person, but they need to at least look at the big picture in their own lives. And so people like me, who is very much a big picture person, I have for the astrologer, people understand, I have a lot of Sagittarius, a lot of Jupiter. And so I'm very much a big picture person. And that's a gift and a challenge. Being such a big picture person doesn't always ground things as easily as you would like. So even if we're not a big picture person, Saturn can bring to the surface an order and a message that says you need to change or look at this structure. And sometimes there's loss related to it because we become dependent, or we've grown up. As I always say, the first Saturn return was about that first maturation process, and then the second Saturn return comes along with the next major maturation process if you get through the early 40s and early 50s, and says, okay, you can even look at the higher reason and meaning to life. And I speak this because there are several people, and as I've said, I have a database that I've kept of people that are public figures who have chosen, and they may have left at 61 or 62. And I want to speak to that a little bit, in the sense that what happens is the lessons get really hard during 58 to 60, and if we're unable to make that shift or integrate into our lives what that lesson is, it gets even more challenging. So many times when people choose to leave the planet, it can be after these critical life cycles, like maybe it's 61. I have one specific public figure that I'm going to work his chart, and it was at 61. And it's that they get through that really serious tight time, and then they're worn out. They're done. They're just worn out. And there might be other things that are impacting them. So if you know of someone or yourself going through this 58 to 60 and things just seem too hard to overcome, and it doesn't have to mean about deciding to leave the planet, it can just mean about opening up to life and allowing that. But again, as I've said, this playlist is about dealing with suicide ideation and offering a tool that I think helps to create, oh, this is what's happening. It acknowledges this is really what's happening to you. It's not that you aren't seeing right, or you're not good enough, or it's so hard that you can't see. It's saying, yes, this is a tough time. This is pressing on you. And so no wonder you feel the way that you do. And this shall pass too. Please, if you get any other message, this shall pass too. Whether it's related to you deciding about leaving the planet, or if it's just about it's a really tough time. It kind of confirms that yes, you're having a tough time, and this is when it'll get better. And it gets better when you learn the lessons and not just let it pass without doing anything about it, because it does get tougher as we move along. And I'm going to do a video on the slower moving planets and how those stretch out over our lives, because I've touched on them here, because this time doesn't come along again until around age of 87. And I will talk a lot about some about how significant amount of numbers of people leave the planet around the ages of 84 and 87, or 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88. And that's these long-term cycles. It doesn't have anything to do with whether they choose to leave the planet. It's just that they've come to that place, and it's about make the shift, or have you been working on the shift for a long time? Another topic, another video. Okay, so 58 to 60 moves on if you don't work on the energies that are brought forth. So thank you for joining me. I hope this is useful, and I will be back. Namaste.